You knew. You all knew, didn't you? No. No. No, that's not possible. Did you hear that? Oh my God.
I almost deleted the voicemail before I ever heard it. The notification appeared on my phone at 8:14 a.m. on Tuesday, January 13, 2026, while I was standing in my tiny kitchen apartment in Lincoln Park, Chicago, watching fresh snow collect on the fire escape outside my window. The coffee maker was sputtering through its last few drops, my blueberry bagel was burning in the toaster, and my golden retriever Cooper kept scratching at the front door because he wanted his morning walk. It felt like the most ordinary morning imaginable. I had no idea it would become the day that changed everything. 3 days later, my ex-husband would be let out of a ballroom in handcuffs. And I would finally understand why he never wanted our divorce to end quietly. But none of that made sense yet. At that moment, I was just trying to stop thinking about him. I thought I was finally healing. I believed the hardest part was already behind me. I couldn't have been more wrong. The voicemail sitting on my screen had been left less than 5 minutes earlier. The caller ID showed a number I had deleted months ago. Even so, I recognized it instantly. Ethan Carter, my ex-husband, the man who had spent 12 years promising forever before replacing me in less than 12 weeks. I stared at the screen longer than I care to admit. Then I pressed play. His voice sounded warm, almost familiar. Lily, I think we both deserve a better ending than the one we got. I laughed out loud, not because it was funny, because Ethan had never cared about endings. He only cared about appearances. If people believed he was the good guy, that was enough for him. That was exactly how our marriage worked, and exactly how it fell apart. We signed our divorce papers on October 9th, 2025, inside courtroom 402 of the Richard J. Daley Center. It was a gray Friday morning, the kind when Chicago's wind slices straight through your coat. Ethan wore the same tailored navy suit he had worn when he convinced me to refinance our home 2 years earlier. Looking back, I should have questioned why he smiled more during legal paperwork than he ever did during our anniversary dinners. Then his voicemail took a turn I wasn't expecting. "I've met someone I think you should know," he said. "He's a decent man. Honest. Kind. I told him all about you." Those last 5 words stayed with me all day. He told him all about me. But what exactly had he said? I wouldn't get the answer until I walked into a room where dozens of strangers already knew my name. And one man had been waiting for Ethan long before I arrived. I should have trusted the feeling in my stomach. The invitation arrived the very next morning. Not by email, not by text. A cream-colored envelope was slipped under my apartment door while I was taking Cooper outside at 7:20 a.m. on Wednesday, January 14, 2026. My name was written across the front, in Ethan's unmistakable handwriting. Clean, careful, almost elegant. The same handwriting that had once filled birthday cards and anniversary notes now made my pulse race for an entirely different reason. Inside was a single invitation. Hope Horizon Foundation Winter Gala. Saturday, January 17, Palmer House Hilton. Black tie. Guest of Ethan Carter. And handwritten beneath the printed text were 6 words. "Give life one more chance, Lily." I read that sentence at least 10 times. It almost sounded sincere. Almost. By Friday evening, my best friend Rachel Morgan was sitting cross-legged on my living room floor, surrounded by open shoeboxes and dresses I hadn't worn since before the divorce. "You don't have to go," she said. "I know. But you're going anyway." I nodded. "Because if I stay home, he'll tell everyone I couldn't face him." Rachel sighed. "Then promise me one thing." "What?" "If anything feels wrong, leave." I promised. It's amazing how confidently people make promises they have no chance of keeping. Saturday arrived colder than expected. Downtown Chicago glittered beneath fresh snow. The hotel lobby smelled of polished wood, cinnamon, and expensive perfume. A string quartet played near the grand staircase, while servers carried silver trays filled with champagne flutes. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. Then I noticed something strange. People kept looking at me. Not casually, deliberately. A woman in a red velvet dress whispered something to the man beside her. He turned, looked directly at me, then smiled. Not kindly. The kind of smile people wear when they already know how the story ends. I suddenly felt like I had walked into a room where everyone had read the script except me. Across the ballroom, Ethan caught my eye. He lifted his glass. His grin was wider than I had seen in years. It wasn't happiness. It was anticipation. As if he were counting down to something. A hostess appeared beside me. "Miss Harper? Your guest is waiting." She led me across the ballroom to a small table near the windows overlooking Monroe Street. One man stood as I approached. Mid-40s, dark blue blazer, silver wedding band, calm eyes. He offered his hand. "I'm Daniel Brooks." His handshake was steady. His smile wasn't. He looked at me for several long seconds, almost as if he was trying to decide whether to tell me something. Then he quietly asked, "Lily, before we begin, did Ethan tell you why he chose me?" I shook my head. Daniel exhaled slowly. Then he said the one sentence that made every conversation in that ballroom disappear. "Because this was never meant to be a date." The room suddenly felt much smaller. I looked at Daniel, then at Ethan, then back at Daniel. "What do you mean?" I whispered. Daniel didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached beside his chair and picked up a worn brown leather portfolio. The edges were cracked, and one corner had been repaired with clear tape, as if it had been opened hundreds of times. "I've carried this for 22 months, he said quietly. "I hoped tonight would finally end it." He opened the portfolio. The first page stopped my breathing. It was a photograph. Ethan, standing beside Daniel. Both of them were wearing construction helmets in front of a commercial building in downtown Chicago. The date stamped in the corner read, March 28, 2024. "I own Brooks Restoration Group," Daniel explained. "Ethan hired my company during a redevelopment project near Navy Pier." I frowned. He told us the financing was secure. Every contract looked legitimate. Daniel slid another document toward me, a bank transfer, then another, and another. Every page carried Ethan's signature. Every payment disappeared into companies with names I'd never heard before. "I lost $1.8 million, Daniel said. 37 employees lost their jobs." He looked down for a second. Some of them had worked with me for more than 15 years. My stomach turned. The same man who used to lecture me about honesty over Sunday breakfast had built his success on lies. Daniel closed the folder. "Ethan contacted me last month." My head snapped up. "He offered me $50,000 to meet you tonight." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "He said you'd been begging him for another chance. He wanted me to laugh at you. He wanted everyone else to laugh, too." Across the ballroom, Ethan was still smiling. He thought his plan was working. He had no idea Daniel had changed the ending. Daniel stood. He buttoned his jacket. Then, without asking anyone's permission, he walked straight toward the stage. The violinists stopped playing. Conversations faded. Nearly 200 guests turned to watch. Daniel took the microphone. His first sentence was calm, almost gentle. "Ethan Carter, I think your guests deserve the truth." The smile vanished from Ethan's face. Daniel held the leather folder high enough for everyone to see. Then 2 detectives in plain clothes stepped out from the back of the ballroom. One of them already had a pair of handcuffs in his hand. For the first time since our divorce, Ethan looked exactly the way he had always wanted me to feel. Small, powerless, exposed. As the detective read the warrant and guests pulled out their phones to record everything, I finally understood something that took me 12 years to learn. Real revenge isn't screaming louder than the person who hurt you. It's standing still while the truth does all the talking. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more unforgettable revenge stories where betrayal never gets the final word.